Somebody asked me if you were a rabbi. And
Not the new religion, QLA.
oh yeah. and I said no. Was that the right answer? Okay. I hear half of you aren't drinking. I'm not going to tell you a story on film, but off of film, I'll tell you a story about just a recent experience of mine that once one of the guys started drinking. And back in the old days, back when I was ripping the ass out of the world in the 80s, financially whoring, they said, if you don't smoke, and I'm not talking about drugs, but if you don't smoke and you don't drink, nobody wanted to do a deal with you, which is pretty much true. If you didn't smoke or drink, there was a whole segment of people that didn't do business with you. I'm not talking about Hasidic Jews, none of that. If you didn't fucking smoke and drink, especially the drink, they didn't really give a shit. They only wanted you to smoke because they smoked. And that was at the time in the 80s. It was after the 60s when they came out with the Surgeon General report about how it kills you and all this shit, which everybody knew from before that. But in fact, when I was in the military, I smoked for 3 weeks because they used to say, smoke them if you got them. And you used to be able to fit a pack of cigarettes right here in your blouse. And so I smoked for 3 weeks, but I didn't like it, so I stopped. But there were guys that sued the government from the 60s because they smoked, allegedly got cancer, etc. Okay. But I was in a recent meeting where after alcohol was entered into the picture, the truth came out. And so for those of you that think that you're going to be better off not drinking, it's not going to help you any. Except I know some of you, it's part of your gig, and that's fine. But other than that, it won't help you. And nothing's going to help you. And based on, remember the cases I asked you to send me the information that you would need either to buy, sell, merge with a company. And some of you, the information you gave, you couldn't, other than wipe your ass with the information you sent. So you really don't know the difference between buying and selling. And I know the seminar wasn't about merging. A few of you have merging experience. But it goes right back to when I asked these schools, how many classes have you had in buying? How many classes have you had in selling? How many classes have you had in leadership with few exceptions? The answer is no. Except for guys like Tom, who went to the military, Naval Academy, where they ostensibly learned about leadership. Being sailors anyway. And I'm not going to talk too much about the Army-Navy game, but I am going to talk about the Army-Navy game, even though the Naval Academy, through Tom, was kind enough to allow me to speak there. And I told the midshipmen, that I'm going to be cheering for the Army, even though you guys were kind enough to allow me to speak here. But it was a surreal experience, but we'll talk about that during the week. But what we're going to do, basically, in the next 8 or 9 days is get an MBA. And I know some of you have MBAs, but we're going to cover, depending on the intelligence of the group, we're going to cover between 30 and 40 cases. And most of the MBA schools, 2-year programs, are about 30 to 40 cases, if you cover that much. But we're going to do it in 9 or 10 days. And so that begs the question, what the fuck do you do the rest of the 2 years? Well, that's the only way they can justify 50, 60, 80, 100 grand per semester or per year. And having recently sent our daughter to one of the more prestigious programs, and yes, Derek, we know you went to graduate school on your own nickel, scholarships, et cetera, et cetera. So we have one who paid full, and we had one that did it on his own dime, which is commendable. But we're going to cover those cases, and when we're going to split up in 4 groups. And we had 3 people drop out at the last minute, paid full, no money back. No, I'm not going to amortize the money amongst you, So I've been asked that before. But remember how we talked about people aren't serious. We're not serious. Now just think about that. Because this is not, it's not inexpensive to most people. Or it's very expensive, I should say, to most people. And so, but we're not going to spend so much time on that. There's only about 50 or 60 slides the first day, and the rest of the time, in addition to going through the actual cases, and we'll give 2 or 3 groups the same case sometimes, and you'll be surprised. Even though you know the outcome, when you look at the material, you come up with a different answer. And some of the cases that you brought, we'll give to 2 or 3 different groups. And and I didn't ask you, some of you told me, but I didn't ask you, did you pass on this? Or do you think this is still a viable candidate? For good reason I didn't ask you. Because some of you will think deals that you turned down were good. Some of you will think the deals that you turned down were terrific, that you're willing to leave your family for, your job, and you turn down. Because, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and almost everybody in this group that has worked on deals hasn't utilized their board properly. Right now I've got 9 deals on the boil, meaning that they're trying to get them across the goal line. 2 of which with Tom, and
About to get a third.
Okay, and in all cases, including his, they're not utilizing the board. If you don't utilize the board, one, why in the fuck did you give them equity? And the reason that you don't utilize the board is because you don't want them to think that you're a fucking moron. You don't want to ask stupid questions. Like he's rolling up brothels. Now, it's like him asking, where do I put my dick? You don't want them to know what I know, that you're a fucking retard. But that defeats the whole purpose of the QLA model, using the board. And we're gonna talk about at least one person in this room didn't use the board and has become very successful. You can do it. In my judgment, it's a lot harder. But the other answer is that he's here, though. So tomorrow morning, it's the same type drill. 9 o'clock. Breakfast is from 8 to 8:45. We start at 9. We meet in the pavilion for a couple hours where we go over general information, and then we'll meet at least once or twice again in the pavilion to go over key points, because I'm going to run around, because you're going to be split up in 4 groups. I will run around to the groups, listening to you, giving you input, and I'll be filming it, and we'll be taking away nuggets, if you will, that are learning points or teaching points to bring back to the main group. So when we go over them, this group A said this, and that, what do you think? And then when you finish the cases on a daily basis, then you'll present in front of the group as a group, either one or all of you will present your findings. And we'll have a few selected webinars from people that were at the last hardcore. The last hardcore from December 2017 to last month produced 19 transactions. The group. But we fine-tuned the hardcore because you like not hearing the answers from me. You like hearing the answers from Tom or Marcus or Deb or Dr. John or whoever. I understand that from a psychological point of view, because you relate to these meatheads more than you relate to me. Marcus thinks he relates to me because he's a big shot now, but he really doesn't relate to me in reality. But you would rather hear the answer coming in almost the same words from another meathead like you. It's going to be we have trouble finding South African accents, although we have a couple in the room. That's hard to replicate. But if you close your eyes, now I'm sure that he knows he's white and he knows he's black by listening to his voice. But to me, you sound exactly the same. Now, one or both of you are insulted right now. The Afrikaner is probably the one that's probably insulted. And you've got to explain to him what an Afrikaner is. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole bullshit, how they took your land and all that crap. Okay. Or they're taking your land. I should say, not they took their land. Okay. Yeah. But so we've incorporated more of that into the seminar. And and funny enough, we already have people signed up for next year's hardcore. Not the ones that decided not to come. You only have one chance to make actually it's not a first impression with me because this is their second or third impression. Is it time? Yeah, they're going to check. Yes, the butlers, for those of you that haven't been here in a while, like him, the butlers served for the Queen, and I was just asking them off camera, I'll tell you, some stories about, is this true about the Queen Mother? Is this true about such and such? And most of the stories about them are true. But as I was telling one of you earlier, that now this is not your first experience at being exposed to this kind of environment. Some of you, it's your second or third. And in Marcus's case, he's been here a number of times. But the more you can get used to being wealthy, although Marcus doesn't consider himself wealthy yet, although he is by everybody else's standards in this room, the easier it becomes. The easier it becomes. It's like when you were at the Beverly Wilshire 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. Yeah. And I told Sally he went to the Beverly Wilshire, which is like our home away from home when we're in the United States. And to see you standing there in those kind of clothes, and you with your pretty wife, I know this had to be something good about your life, and it's obviously your wife, it was interesting. But those kind of experiences I've been exposing myself to since I was in university when I came back from the military. And so now it's like when I look at the Rolls and the Bentley and the Ferrari and the various cars that we have outside, they just flash by me where I see you taking pictures by the car and touching the car. Don't touch the car. Are we ready?
The car. We need to wait 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, so I get to talk 5 more minutes. I'm sure you're all thrilled.
Am I handling the cars?
Yeah. Don't touch the cars. Don't touch. You can stand next to them and take pictures, but don't touch them.
Maybe what we'll do is during the week we'll open up the cars and let you sit in them. Yeah. I have yet to sit. I have yet to sit in the Ferrari. No. We did. We got you in there one day. Yeah.
You have to pry me in. I mean, it's not any, and it's hard for me to sit in the DB9. But my favorite is the Bentley. It's the oldest car we have, right? Is the Bentley the oldest car? And of course the Rolls sit when I'm in the back seat waving at people like this. But these are all the things that come along. And I remember when I first met Marcus in the summer of 2010, I believe. October of 2010. And then Sally and I have been there to visit at least once or twice that I can recall. He's a different person. It's just, it's like one of you, not in this room, that's closing a deal right now, that's about 1,000 miles away from where he lives. He didn't understand why one of the last questions was from the bank, well, who of your team is going to be on site to run the business? And he was stupid enough to email back, well, none of us. That financing died. Deed. And he asked me, can I resurrect it? I said, don't bother. Why? No, I'm not promoting that you lie to him, but why would you tell him Nobody from this world-class team that's got 185 years of experience, 300 transactions, is going to be on site to run the fucking business. Why in God's name would you tell them that? Other than fucking retarded stupidity. I.e., why I call you retards. Because vis-a-vis finance and getting deals done, Marcus is a lot smarter many deals later than he was in October of 2010, which I think that he will attest to. Most of you are smarter now than you were. Not all of you, most of you are smarter now, financially smart. And I'm talking about financially smart, because the only smarts that count in life are financial smarts, to me. Because the only thing that people, money's not everything, but the only thing anybody keeps track of is money. I'm going to show you an email I got from a guy from 2004 seminar. I blocked out all the pertinent information, but he's got $844 million cash in the bank. Cash in the bank in 3 or 4 different forms. And so Sally and I disagree on this. I figure he's got to have 150 or 60 million in something else to make him a billionaire. Sally says that she doesn't think he's a billionaire. That's why he was so careful to say 844 million. Well, maybe she's right. But that's fucking close enough for government work. From 2004. And he's a Germanic person. Meaning he's a Nazi. He's a Germanic person. And it's on the stationery and from the bank and signed by some people with everything blocked out. Now, I'm not going to ask you if you have any questions because you know that they're stupid questions. I'm not going to ask you. One of you added 2 more cases. Was it you?
Not sure.
Okay, somebody added 2 more cases over the deadline. We took them in. I haven't looked at the cases yet because I actually read the cases. And you know, for some of you like you that sent that many pages for one case, and I don't, because he helped me speak at the Naval Academy, I'm not going to ridicule him on camera, but I'm going to ridicule the shit out of him during the seminar, because if it takes you that many fucking pages, you ought to. And make sure you get the gun up high, metaphorically speaking. Because if it takes you more than looking at a balance sheet, not even an income statement, and a summary, amortization, depreciation, before and or after tax income, which you should be able to, based on your, because you're all numerant, meaning that your numbers adept, be able to figure out in between 30 and 90 seconds whether it's a deal to look at or not. And at the end of the seminar, this seminar, you will be able to, between 30, we'll give you 120 seconds. That's the most fucking due diligence you should be able to do based on just numbers. And almost everybody in this room, except for Churchill here, and the Churchill is because he goes to Harrow. Did you get thrown out yet? Are you still there?
No, I'm still there.
Okay, so forevermore he's Churchill. Okay, and are you still 17?
Yep.
17. What were you doing at 17, other than jerking off on your computer? You were probably so poor you didn't have a computer, right? Did you have a computer when you were 17?
Yes.
You did? So you were able to jerk off on it. Good. I'm happy for you. Okay. Did they have porn at 17? That would have been, what, 20 years ago? 18 years ago? Quick. 19 years ago. Did they have porn on the computer 19 years ago?
Not very good, but
Yeah. On that happy note, we ready?
Yeah.
Let's go to eat, guys. Good to see you. Okay. You don't look the same.